Hello and welcome to my channel, Crafting with me, Indiana Jones, and welcome to this Shabby Chic collaboration. I have to tell you, one of the items I love of Shabby Chic decor is dress forms. Maybe because my mom was a seamstress and so was my grandmother, and actually so am I. So I actually have a working dress form that I use for myself. But more than anything, I think they are the embodiment of feminine beauty, I suppose. And this little beauty needs to get a little glammed up. She needs a glow up because although she's very simple and utilitarian, I think I can make her look better. And I found her at Goodwill for $10 several years ago, and I always had the plan of making something with her. So now's the time. I'm so happy to be part of this Shabby Chic spring collaboration with all these Shabby Chic chicks. That's hosted by Jody at Southern Seasons, Teresa of Our Green Acres, Becky of Kinda Shabby, and Dawn of Shabby Meets Bling. And all of these lovely ladies are truly very sweet, wonderful friends that I have the pleasure to work alongside for this Shabby Chic collaboration. As I mentioned before, you know I love dress forms. I don't know if you've ever noticed that before, but I do collect dress forms in various ways. They could be small or large. And as I said before, I have this lovely but very plain dress form for many, many years. So I decided to, shabby chic it up a little bit. I thought it was funny using these stencils because it just seemed to me like they were like tattoos for some reason, but I continued on as I was enjoying the whole process. Now, I will tell you, it's a little difficult to work on a dress form because it's 3D. So it was kind of hard to work with the stencils. So now I decided to just change to transfers. I thought transfers would be a little easier. A little easier maybe, but still a bit of work, but so much fun. I got these transfers from Amazon, and I will include the link down below. It was very inexpensive, and they worked wonderfully with the burlap fabric. So again, I don't know if you've ever transferred onto fabric, but it is possible and a lot of fun, especially if you can just do the transfers on a flat surface. But if you do have a harder surface, dress form, this is possible. Now, if you have a softer dress form, it might be a little more difficult, but not impossible. Just have a little more patience. Now, the reveal is always the most fun when you're using transfers. Is it for you as well? I love just peeling it off and bang, there it is. Again, I thought it was kind of cool. I almost felt like a tattoo artist while I was doing this, but I just love the way it looks. Now, I will show you that at the end, I do use a very light sandpaper just to sand down because the transfers sometimes have a little bit of a sheen to it. And I don't want it to look like I added a transfer. I just want it to look like fabric on the dress form itself. Now, I'm continuing to embellish with transfers and with stencils and just enjoying the process. And as you can see, it gets a little difficult the way I have to hold things. For whatever reason, when I would use the blue tape, it wouldn't hold the transfer onto the fabric. But that's okay. We worked it out, and I think it worked out with the best results. I really am so happy at how lovely this turned out. Oh, how I wish my microphone was recording me because I have no idea what I was saying or what I was doing, but I look absolutely insane as I continue. I don't know who I was arguing with, but I just had fun with it. Anyway, there I go, continuing to put what I like to call stencil tattoos, and she almost fell on top of me, my dress form. But again, I just had so much fun. So if you find one of these plain dress forms, don't think you have to keep it that way or that you have to spend a lot of money. I think my transfers were I think they were only $10. So they really weren't that expensive. I already had the stencils, and it's just having a little bit of imagination and a little ingenuity. As I mentioned before, I did use a very light sanding just to take away that top sheen of the transfers. So it looks more like it was part of the fabric to begin with. And as you can see, I love that vintage fashion or the vintage design stencil that I used in the back. And there she is, and I'm very, very happy. I hope you like it too. Next, here's a cute little dress form that I found at a garage sale or a church sale. And I really didn't like the design on the fabric itself. You know, it doesn't always have to have an Eiffel Tower to tell you that it's from Paris. But I just, I already had beige. I didn't like the idea of having so much beige. So I'm going to change up this little dress form. So this is to show you that if you find a dress form out there in the wild that's got any kind of print that you don't like, then you can remove it or cover it with paint. So first, I just put the same color paint, that beigey kind of paint, and just to cover those designs. And now I'm gonna cover it with this very pale mint color, this mint green. I thought it's so pretty. I like green. So I'm of course going to make a little green dress form, and it's so pretty for spring, and it matches my room. So that's why I picked this pretty green color. And all the paints, unless it's the beige paint, the other paints I'm using are from Folk Art or from Plaid or Apple Barrel, because it's from the Plaid family of products. Thank you, Plaid. Anyway, I really just love changing this color up. And what I decided to do, at first I had another idea in mind. I thought maybe I was going to do more transfers, but I decided to use lace. And I have so much lace at home. I have a hoard of lace between my laces that I've collected over the years and the ones from my mom that my brother brings me in these wonderful big Tupperware containers. Manny, would you like to say hi to the people?
Hey guys, it's Manny. Hope everybody's doing well. See you soon. Have fun.
Manny is the sponsor of this video because if it weren't for him, this video would not be possible. So thanks to Manny for helping me out with my technical difficulties this weekend. So as you can see here, all I'm doing is adding together all the lovely laces that I have in my stash. And I am being watched over by the lovely little Luna there in the corner. And I am just piecing together my little scraps of lace. You don't have to use your nice lace if you don't want to use it, but there's so many scraps of lace that I'm sure you have that you can add to any dress form. And I think it's going to turn out so lovely, so Parisian style, without having to put the Eiffel Tower on something and tell you it is Parisian or from Paris or French or from France, as they would say. Anyway, and I just had so much fun adding together and actually designing a little dress made out of all these tiny little pieces of lace. And I love the idea of adding a string of pearls to this. Now, it's funny, for some reason, that last little piece that I put on top, for some reason, it reminds me of an owl. Do you see an owl? I see an owl sometimes. But anyway, maybe that's why they call them Hooters. Anyway, this is the second little dress form, and I just love the way it turned out. I hope you like it too. There's nothing I love more than crafting from my stash, and this was a little project that I made a couple of years ago. And as lovely as it was boring. To me, it was just boring. So let's repaint it. Let's restart it. And before I start with this, I want to apologize. I did not realize that my camera was backwards. For some reason, this is filmed not backward. I don't know how to say it. It's backwards. It's all the wording is going to be backwards. It's inverted. So I'm so sorry. I tried to fix it, but you know what? I didn't want to mess and meddle with it too much. Just wanted to get it done. So I created this little design. I thought it was the cutest little thing. The background or the frame of this I actually found on Graphics Fairy, and I used it to create my own little sign for what would be like my little shop, my little dress shop, because I thought it would be cute to take that little trunk and make it into a little sewing kit. As you can see, I tore off the edges and now I'm setting it on fire. Yes, you heard me right. I'm setting the edges on fire just to make it look more vintage, more antique, because I just wanted it to look like, oh, this was something from the 1800s, and I just found it in this beautiful antique dress shop. And now I'm using these beautiful antique, sewing tools. So just take your time. If you're burning paper like this, as you could tell, I wet the edges first so that it doesn't, completely catch it on flames. You don't want to flame on. You don't want to set the house afire just to make something cute. Now I'm using my favorite, of course, Mod Podge from the Plaid family of products. And there's little Luna in the background, as you can see there. And you know that my favorite system of using, or my favorite technique for using Mod Podge, is to let it dry completely. As you can see here, it's not wet, so there's no possibility of any kind of wrinkling because it's tacky to the touch, but it is dry. And what I do is I use this tiny little iron with some parchment paper to reactivate the glue. And that technique, plus the iron, of course, really eliminates the wrinkles as much as possible. And there you have it. I think this turned out so cute. But wait, there's more. Because I didn't like how the sides were so light against that vintage paper, or that vintage look on that sign. So of course I'm going to vintage up. Is that a word? I'm going to do a little antiquing. That's a better word. I'm going to do a little antiquing to the edges of this little suitcase so it all looks like it was from the same time period. Because, since I had repainted it, that paint was just way too clean and way too bright. So just a little bit of antique wax, and that's pretty much it. I just waxed it off, and I think it's perfect. I love it, and I think it's going to look so nice in my craft room. Look at this cute little cabinet. I fell in love with it. I didn't want to paint it. I didn't want to do anything to mess it up because it's just too cute. But I had moss. I have moss, and where there's moss, there must be something to do with the moss, right? And especially with moss sheets like this one that I got off of Temu. I know everybody tells me the bad things about Temu and stuff, but I just find great stuff there. Anyway, there I also found this cute little dress form. Look at that wire dress form. Isn't that the cutest thing to use for like a bridal shower? I think it's so cute. Or sweet 16. So I also had these lovely little flowers left over from a project that I did over the weekend. And these lovely little flowers, it just reminded me of those backdrops that you see with the grass and all of the blooms. And I thought, how cute would this be to showcase that cute little dress form? And at first I kind of like the dress form in white, but you'll see I do change it later. Now Luna is helping me with creating some little details for that little cabinet, because I did want it to look very French and very, designer worthy. So I created these moldings for that little cabinet, and it does look like little wood moldings. I took the moldings, I used the molds, the plastic molds that you see there, and I just used glue. I just used hot glue, and now I'm using this kind of rub and buff in this light champagne color that I thought was so pretty. And as you can see there in the corner, I also painted the dress form in gold just to add a little, to zhuzh it up a little bit. And then once I'm done, I'm going to add those trims to the little cabinet door just to give it like the look that you would see in a boutique in France. I can't help saying France that way. I'm sorry if you're from France, but ever since Miss Universe said it that way, that's the only way I think about it now. Now, how lucky was I to find this paper mache dress form on clearance for around $4 at Hobby Lobby. That's right. And this is pretty big. It's like almost 2 feet tall. And I thought, how perfect for this project of a dress form collection. Now, using this wonderful mold that I have, I decided to create some details with clay molds. This is one technique that I haven't shown you yet on this video, but I'm sure you've seen it. Now I'm using paper clay. Paper clay is a little lighter than air dry clay. I don't know if it's the same thing or not, but I believe this is a little lighter than air dry clay. Also, one of the tips that I want to give you is to try to keep the clay moist as we are, just keep it wet in one way or another, just, like spraying it just a little bit, not too much, but that keeps it from cracking. Now, as you can see here, I'm trying to design and decorate with the dress form, and I have to act quickly because once again, I don't want it to dry too fast. So I do try to keep my hands just add a little water to my hands now and then, and always use a little bit of cornstarch in the mold so that it releases easily. Now, as you can see, I'm just trying to design as I go. So I continue to fill the different molds that I feel that I'm going to be using. And I had this one trim that I thought was very lovely, and it looked like lace that would be placed on a dress. It had roses and these cute little bows. So now I'm using some glue, and you can use white glue or wood glue. And I'm actually using a little bit of Mod Podge because I had it there on my desk already to begin with, and believe it or not, it held very well. I haven't had any problems when I've glued trim with Mod Podge, as it does hold very well. And all I'm doing here is designing a little dress, I suppose, and just doing the best I can and adding them as I go. And of course, remember, you don't have to use the trim as is. You can cut it, you can shape it, you can do whatever you like. And especially with the paper mache dress form, it's so easy to work with because it does stay in place. Because it's porous, it's for sure that it is going to glue together. It's much harder if you're trying to use these molds on something that's not porous, like glass or plastic. But these, I love these paper mache forms. Now again, this is the beautiful rose and bows. Anyway, this is the rose and bows trim, which again I think reminds me of lace, and that's what I think the paper mache mold is looking like, as if it was just lace and beautiful trims for this dress form. Again, it's so easy to work with this paper clay and this paper mache. Of course, it makes sense. And now I'm just adding like a few more items for the hips. I just wanted to keep decorating. If it was up to me, I would keep adding more and more of these, decorations, because it just adds so much more to the dress form itself. And again, at $4 a dress form and seeing how big it is, I think it is just such a fun project. And like I said, if you have a wedding coming up or a prom, what a cute idea. Now, I had this candlestick in my stash. I don't know how I came about it. I don't know if I found it in the garbage. I don't know. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. What matters is the final result. So here I am using some more of these molds to decorate that, because the dress form's all decorated. I wanted the stand that it's going to be on to be decorated as well. Now I am using this beautiful, like dusty pink color. This is a Shabby Chic pink if I ever saw one. And again, because I do want this in my boudoir, in my bedroom, I thought this would be just a nice little contrast with the light pale green that I have in my room. Now for this, at first I thought, I wanted to keep those trims in white, but then I changed my mind. So at first I was trying to just paint around it, but later on I just decided it was too hard to just paint around it. So honestly, I painted everything. Then I went over the trim in a different color for it to stand out. I actually aged it or antiqued it with a little bit of gray. I used some gray paint together with some wax, and that's what gave it the antique color that it ended up having. What I love about using the antique wax is how you can just make those little details really pop out. You couldn't see the roses and the bows before, but now you can. And Guru she's literally offering me a helping paw. She's so cute, just sitting there watching me paint, and Luna's right there beside her. So just adding and making sure that I brush into all those details, that lovely gray color, so you can see that it looks very antique. I love it. So I continue adding that so that you can see all the details. And of course, I'm going to glam it up just a little bit. Once again, I am rubbing into that beautiful trim, just a little bit of that champagne gold. And it's a beautiful pearly kind of gold. I thought it was going to be more of an antique gold, but it's very light and very pretty. And I just think it really glams up this whole project. And I do the same for the bottom design on the candlestick. And again, there's Kudu helping me get all those paintbrushes out of that cup. But I think the final result is beautiful. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. And thank you so much for all of these lovely ladies that I feel so blessed to call my friends. Jody at Southern Seasons, Teresa of Our Green Acres, Becky of Kind of Shabby, and Dawn of Shabby Meets Bling. I am so happy to call them my friends and to invite you to visit their channels in the links down below, as well as a link to the full playlist. Thanks once again for stopping by, and I ask you to please like, share, and subscribe so that I can continue to grow my YouTube community. As I always say, stay safe, be kind, God bless each and every one of you, and remember to live the adventure. I'll see you again very soon.